We're here with Jim Arrington. He is running for City of LaGrange mayor. Jim, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm a lifelong resident of LaGrange. I can't say I was born here, but I have been here since before I was one, and graduated from LaGrange High School. Met my high school sweetheart there, who is now my wife, Kathy Arrington. We have 2 children, Abby Moody and her husband, Logan Moody, with our first grandchild, Vera Moody. And then I have my son, Drew Arrington, and his wife, Sally Arrington. Been in LaGrange contracting business now since 1997. So been in construction my whole life, but been operating a business of my own here in LaGrange for 27 years plus. And thankfully, been very fortunate and been very, very blessed to be here in LaGrange.
Well, we're glad you're here. Tell us, has there been something in your life or recently or just over your lifetime that led you to get involved with local politics and running for office?
So 6.5 years ago, my daughter was graduating Auburn University with apparel merchandising degree. And my mind was going everywhere, that she may go to California, she may go to New York, she may be in Birmingham. And at that particular time, I was like, I really want her to be here in LaGrange to raise her family when she does finally get married. So anyway, I started looking in and just looking for ways that I could get involved. And at that particular time in my life, I felt like it was time for me to give back to the community that had been so good to me. And so I just started visiting city council. And next thing you know, I'm running for council and been on city council for 6 years, and I have gotten very involved. I mean, it's been a passion for mine to make sure that the city does well and make sure that our residents has a high quality of life here. So that's really the reason that I'm running. There was no agenda. There was nothing that people had done me wrong. I just felt like it was time for me to give back to the community.
Okay. Well, so you're familiar with the Unified Development Ordinance, with the UDO.
I actually was on that board that we helped develop the Unified Development Ordinance.
So do you think that it's fairly new, but times have changed? Do you think that, and would you support that being reviewed with potential modifications?
I certainly would. Being in the housing industry and the construction for 28 years, since 2019, construction costs have increased somewhere between 40 and 50%. For me, in custom construction, it has went from $150 a square foot to $250 a square foot. Now, in developers, they're probably not at that levels of thing, but you're still talking 40% increase.
All right.
People just cannot afford some of these things that we probably have in our Unified Development Ordinance. Now, I'm not saying I don't have any particulars that I would pull out of it. I think it's a case-by-case basis, or maybe not case-by-case, but at least somebody bring it to our attention and we look at it. Mm-hmm. One thing I kind of see that possibility of doing is maybe decreasing square footage. Now, we are at 750 square feet, I believe, and in the surrounding area, we are one of the lowest square footages allowable. And when you start talking about,
that's for the auxiliary units or the cottages.
Yes. Well, you can. 750 square feet is the minimum square footage you can build. I think you can go down to 650 on a cottage style court.
Okay.
So it's a little less, but but Noonan, Opelika, Peachtree City, Carrollton, Columbus, they're all higher square footages than we are. So we are the lowest at this point, but I do think that we might need to look at maybe some of those.
But
things.
you would be willing to review it as a living document, not something that's
I would be willing to review it, and I think there's some things. We even talked about it when we brought forth the UDO. and we talked about that there was going to have to be changes made at particular times. Now our other ordinances had gotten so convoluted, you had to have Jeff Todd, our attorney, to read them to even tell you what you can and can't do. So
Right.
it was time for a change and time to clean it up. But we're still going to have to look at it. And times change. You know, we didn't foresee COVID.
Right.
We didn't foresee prices increasing 40%. So yes, I'm open to it.
Okay, good. So with development in the area, LaGrange is expected to see growth. Our county is. It's coming. So what needs to be done to preserve the character of LaGrange?
We need to continue to, our UDO, there's one of them. We need to make sure that we don't make changes that does devalue our community. Our main corridors coming in out of LaGrange, we need to make sure that we protect them and make sure that they stay beautiful, and even beautify them more, because there's some that's not looking as great as we would want them to. So we have room for improvements on all of them. But just trying to balance that UDO, because that is what's going to drive the character of LaGrange.
Okay. So is there an overriding reform or some big project kind of that you would like to see over the next 4 years? So what is one thing that you would like to see you lead the change in?
So I don't know if this is what you're asking for, but housing is a huge thing that we need to focus on at this point. We're going to change probably every 3 to 4 or 5 years of what our focus is. But today is housing. I mean, we don't have housing for the people that reside here in LaGrange. We need to focus on that. We need to focus on making sure that everybody has a place to live. And that's not meaning just build affordable housing. That's not meaning building multifamily. That's not meaning only build high end. It's all income levels of housing that we need. And I think that would be the main thing that I would try to focus on at this point. Now, that's the hottest topic, everywhere I go. Rents are the second, and I don't think there's anything we can do about rents. Market is going to dictate the cost, and I do think we will see a downturn eventually. The rents will decrease after we get some saturation. So that's nothing we can do about that. But yes, that's probably my biggest focus.
It's housing. Okay,
Yeah.
great. I want to talk about the budget just a little bit.
Okay.
What is your position on the City of LaGrange supporting nonprofits? And would you like to see the expenditures for nonprofits increased or decreased, and a little bit of details around that?
Okay. So when I came on city council in 2018, I believe, maybe 17, we're in odd years, so no, we're in an even year, so 18. I had to run in 17. We were giving away almost $1 million to nonprofits. And we were watching, cost of living, cost of everything was going up, cost of utilities, gas, cost of sewage, water, everything was increasing. So instead of us increasing the utility rates or implying a city tax, we chose to start decreasing on some of those. Now, back in the day, and I'm going to call back in the day 15 or 20 years ago, when they started putting money towards these nonprofits, we had excess money in the budget. And so we're like, okay, we want to utilize this money. We want to do something for the city. So that's where it came from. And unfortunately, we've been having to decrease it over the past 5 or 6 years. Now I'm at a level now, or it's at a level now that I'm comfortable with. We're around $250,000. Not to say that I wouldn't give a little more if there's a noteworthy, nonprofit that's going to do some really good. But I also think that we have to put in place good quality policy. that enforces this. And it's not just because you're a friend of mine,
Right.
not just because I sent you up here that I'm going to support you. So I think good quality policy in the nonprofits is the biggest thing that we can do. Right now we have a policy where we only fund 25% of their budget up to $25,000. And, don't know who's going to apply this year, don't know how much money they'll be applied for, but we got that started like 2 years ago, so that's been very helpful in trying to balance that budget with the nonprofits, from that $1 million now down to $250,000. But I don't think we need to cut it out totally at all.
Okay. Good. So still on the budget, we're seeing financial pressures. Families are seeing financial pressures, organizations and our community. So is there anything that you think could be cut on the budget?
Thinking back over the budgets in the last years, our city manager has done an excellent job at bringing a budget to us that is very, very basic. The city runs pretty lean. There's so many things that needs attention. It's going to be hard for me to say that we need to cut some things out. Now, if we were wasting a lot of money, I could say, yes, here's some things we need to do, but the city runs very efficient. I mean, those guys that are out cutting grass, they're cleaning bathrooms also over at Moss and Wood Park. I mean, so they may be planting bushes over here on the thread one day. I mean, the city is not wasting money, and I know people want to call me and say, hey, there's 6 guys standing around up here, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. And I'm like, well, when your electricity goes out or your water goes out, what do you want me to do? You want me to have one guy that can't come until he gets finished with this project? Or you want me to send them out now and get it taken care of? Usually they're like, oh, well, we'll make sure my power gets turned back on.
Yeah.
So there's things that we have to give and take.
Well, it's good to hear that the city's running that efficiently.
It is,
Yes.
is efficient. I'm not saying there's not one thing that you couldn't cut out, and don't take me wrong on that, but it's very efficient.
Okay.
There's just, I just can't, off the top of my head, there's not one thing that I would say we need to change at this point on the budget.
Okay. Well, good. So I'm going to give you a minute or two to tell why the public should vote for you.
Okay. So, like I said, I've been in construction for 34 years, been on my own business for 28, and I've been in the housing industry. And I think right now housing is the leading topic of everybody. I feel like I am the most qualified candidate out of the 3 on housing. I feel like I've got the most experience in any city government on been on the council for 6 years. I'm very passionate about LaGrange. I have a vision, and my vision is for LaGrange to be a thriving city that has a high quality life for every resident. That is my vision. And that means a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into a quality of life, and that's transportation, that's housing, that's living, where you live, how your neighborhood looks. And so all of these things are on my priority list, and to be safe, to make LaGrange a safer city. Nationally, I think crime has came down, and we're following suit in LaGrange. I'm gonna knock on some wood because right now homicides are down, but I don't want to get on that. Don't want to say too much because you know what happens when you start talking about things. But we are making leaps and bounds on our crime rates and things, and I just know LaGrange is going in a great direction, and we don't need to turn and go in a different direction at this point. And with my leadership, we will continue to move forward and make LaGrange a better place for all residents, not just ones that might come or ones that are coming. We want all residents to have a high quality of life.
Okay. Well, Jim, thank you so much for being with us today. Really enjoyed hearing about your thoughts on this, and we look forward to finding out more.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.